Welcome to Public Forum, a community outreach program produced at North Idaho College on the shores of Lake Coeur d'Alene. Featuring guests from around the globe addressing a wide variety of subjects, Public Forum serves to educate and enlighten. Please join host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart, in welcoming today's guest.
We're so pleased to bring you a 2-week series on dealing with American Native culture, and we have a wonderful friend here and a highly qualified person to discuss this issue. And we're going to break it into 2 parts. On the first program, it is a discussion of American Indian arts, and our guest is the chair of the Institute of American Indian Arts Board of Directors in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She makes her home in Coeur d'Alene. We welcome to the program our good friend Jeannie Givens. She served on many boards and commissions, and she served with distinction in the Idaho legislature in the state house representing the 5 counties of North Idaho. She is one busy person. Jeannie, it's great to have you here, and thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Tony. It's great to be here, always.
And I'm so pleased to have our 2 regular panelists, Janelle Burke, who's an attorney in the state of Idaho, and next to her is Erna Reinhardt, who's the Director of Public Relations at North Idaho College. And we'll ask our first questions to come from Janelle Burke.
Welcome to the show, Jeannie. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Can you tell us, please, what is the Institute of American Indian Arts, where is it located, and something about it?
The Institute of American Indian Arts was founded in 1971 by a creative group of Native Americans. It has a long history of serving the many tribes in America, in North America, and we have among our alumni some of the most distinguished artists, sculptors, singers, musicians, painters. So we're very proud of our alumni, and we've been at it for several years, and we're celebrating many years of achievement. We're in the heart of Santa Fe, which is, of course, the heart of the American Indian art movement. There are over 250 galleries, art galleries, in the city of Santa Fe. So it's a very sophisticated town, and it's a town of about 60,000 people. But if you've been to Santa Fe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's always on the cutting edge of art and creation.
And so you're actually an educational institution of sorts.
Yes, we offer 2- and 4-year degrees. We offer degrees in museum studies. Many tribes are now launching and creating their own visitor centers, living museums, all different kinds of museums. So tribes are now wanting to be able to tell their own stories via a museum and public displays. So there's a need to have young Native Americans to be trained in the arts of presenting a museum. We also have a very fine, distinguished creative arts department, creative writing, and many of the students go on to do things like to write scripts for plays. We had a student who presented a beautiful play on Broadway a couple years ago. And so the element is very creative. We also have art 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional and museum studies, as I mentioned. We are beginning into a new area, and it's called arts management. That would allow the artist, as they become more and more successful, to manage their careers, manage their name, promote themselves. And this has been a program that is long overdue. So we're just now beginning to put the curriculum together. And a lot of it is just basics. It's bookkeeping, it's networking, it's how to run the business side of the arts. So in the highly competitive arena of Indian art, I think oftentimes the individual painter, the individual sculptor probably doesn't get the best end of the deal. So this program will be very fitting and very good.
Thank you.
Erna Reinhardt.
Welcome to the show, Jeannie. It's good
Thank
to see you again. You mentioned in your comments at the beginning of the show about some alumni. Can you tell us about a couple of the alumni that have gone through?
I'd like to talk about 3 local people. We have Bruce Wynn, a famous wood and alabaster sculptor. He passed away a couple of years ago. People knew him as the tribal chair of the Spokane tribe located in Welpanet, Washington. They knew him as a tribal leader, but they did not know that he had this other side, which is this fantastic sculptor. So he took that to heart, and he had exhibits in Scottsdale and Kansas City, and I was surprised to learn of his terrific career. And then we have Charlene Teeters, who is also a Spokane native person, and she's on our faculty. She's a wonderful photographer. Plus, she's a writer. And then out of Nez Perce country to the south, we have Douglas Hyde, a fantastic sculptor. His sculptures are in Los Angeles, they're in cities, he sculpts large, very dramatic pieces. So these are illustrious alumni, but we have a lot of people who don't necessarily go on in art, which is fine. What they end up being is leaders of their tribe. They go back to their tribe and they organize and they build better societies for their tribal communities. So I think that that's an essential part of the school. Getting to know other people, learning how to communicate, organizing your time, like college does. It's a very good thing. So although they might not become artists, they end up coming home with lots of skills.
Jeannie, is there a venue on the campus for the student art to be displayed?
Yes, we have a student gallery, and there's always a very high-powered student show going on, and sometimes it might be jewelry, it might be photography or living art. And then we have another thing called Art on the Edge, which is really wonderful. It might involve humans doing different things, acting as though a human mannequin or a human piece of sculpture in itself, and so that's always fun. We have many venues for poetry reading. We have a real creative group of people who share their poetry, short stories, novels, and so there's a lot of action happening on the campus.
And those events would be open to the public if
Certainly.
someone happened to be in Santa Fe? They could go to the gallery?
They could go to the gallery. We also have a museum in the heart of downtown in Santa Fe, and it's a huge 2-floor adobe building, and we have student shows there, plus we have alumni shows and then visiting artists who we display their work. We have a really beautiful gift shop, so if you're ever going to Santa Fe, that is a must-stop place.
Excellent.
Well, we'll have to try to send word to your board and your president how wonderfully you have promoted the Institute for Visitors.
This is a non-stop promotion.
Well, it's valid. It's very valid. I didn't introduce you at the beginning of the program to say that your work in education is very extensive, that you were elected, it's an elected position to the Board of Trustees of North Idaho College, and you also served as chair of that board, and now you're on this board. I would like for you to tell our viewers a little bit about the board and the governance. I know that it's actually very prestigious, that it's an appointment by the U.S. President and confirmed by the U.S. Senate, or your position was. Tell us a little about the board and the number and your funding, where you get money to carry on this exciting, really, institution of higher learning in New Mexico.
We have 13 people on our board, and we are presidential appointees, and our names are forwarded to the United States Senate, and based on all kinds of things. We have to have a background check, and we have to make our intentions really clear as to what we would do and how we would want to serve the country in this capacity. Based on that, our names usually are advanced to the Senate, and then the Senate confirms. So it's a rigorous process. It took about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, to get through from the White House all the way through confirmation. So the people who are on the board generally are community activists. They're not necessarily native. They're people who might have an interest in Indian art or collecting, or they have some kind of connection to art usually. So we have an attorney, prestigious attorney, Lauren Kiva, former chair. He's Cherokee. We have many distinguished people on our board. Plus we have representatives from staff, from a senator, U.S. Senator Daniel Inouye's staff, and members of Congress. So we represent tribes from all over the country, all the way from Alaska to Eastern Band of Cherokee. So it takes in the whole.
And the boards from across the country.
Yes, and we have a national scope. We're not just a Santa Fe Institute. We have a national mission.
And how about your funding?
Our funding, thank you, Tony. We are congressionally chartered, so Congress gives us an annual allocation of funds, but also we go out privately to try and do the extra things that we want to accomplish for the students. And so we, of course, are going to foundations and private individuals. We're remembered in many people's wills, too. They have a positive visit, they get to know an artist, and we're often delightfully surprised by that.
And one final thing before I'm going to show some slides. I know our
Yes,
viewers love
okay.
to see the work, but one quick thing about your special president of your college. First of all, give her our best. She has been at North Idaho College, and tell us a little about her. She is the captain of the ship, I would say. She steers the institution.
Della is a Missouri Oto, and she has a distinguished career as an educator. She was chairman of her tribe. And also something about her you probably don't know is that she also ran an antique store in Oklahoma. So she comes from the reservation perspective, and she has a lot to offer. She's especially effective with students as they come onto campus. She knows exactly what they're experiencing. Many of the kids who come to our school are students. They might be the first ones in their family to ever attend school. And as one student had expressed, she even used the last bit of gasoline out of the lawnmower to get to school. So when they meet our wonderful president, she clearly has walked in their moccasins before. She knows where they're coming from, so she has this real unique connection. Della Warrior is respected throughout the country because she has done such a fine job with the Institute. And we're delighted to have her as our president, and I will pass on your good wishes to her.
She is a special person. If our good staff will put up, we're going to show, I guess, about 5 slides. Here's the first one. Jeannie, if you'll take us through those.
This one is especially meaningful. This is a painting, and it is the tribute to Lloyd Kivanu. He was our first president of the Institute. Lloyd was a Cherokee from Oklahoma, and he was the one who brought these wonderful artists together and said that what we need is a school where a Native American student can come and relish in the fact that they are Native, and to be comfortable in that, and from this experience to become even more proud. So Lloyd grew up in an era where it was not fashionable to be Native. Lloyd came out of the 50s, and he knew that there had to be a place where creation could be appreciated and cradled. So this artist is Linda Lomahaftorah, and she is a faculty member. It represents a bit of this national scene that I was talking about. The corn is off in the corner, there's symbols of the moon, and that one continuous circle starting in the center and rotating out. That's a symbol of eternity. And it has the colors of the desert, and it's a very Southwest kind of painting.
Oh, wonderful. We'll go to the second one.
Well, could I say one more thing about that? This beautiful piece was turned into a silk scarf, and as you can imagine, it is wonderful. So this is Linda Lomahaftorah.
Thank you. And the second one we have here?
And this one is done by Mrs. Clark, and her first name escapes me. But the reason why I chose this is because of the ordinariness of it. She is from the Suquamish tribe. She's a person who is an older student. She's probably over 40 for sure, who came to school to discover art. The ordinariness of it, she lives in Pasco, Washington. This is a Dick's walk-up, a drive-in. We have one in Spokane. And I think what it's saying is that Native Americans are part of everyday life. And it's a simple statement. It's just a snapshot of life.
That's great. And next one, please.
With the Institute of American Indian Arts, we have partnerships. And this is a young lady who is an Athabascan dancer from Alaska. And what we are wanting to promote, the reason why I included this one is because we are starting a branch campus in Anchorage.
Oh.
And our host agency there will be the Alaska Native Heritage Center. And this is a beautiful complex on about 100 acres. And they already have a fabulous museum. And it's an interactive kind of museum. So guests walk through and they see people carving, beading, making all kinds of things. And then at the end, the guest is invited to view dancing, and this young, beautiful girl is here. And the next slide also depicts the dancing.
Okay, we'll go to that one now.
And this is a dancer from King Island, Alaska. So also in Alaska, the pride movement in being Native is just, we're just seeing the very beginning of it. And so the Alaska Native Heritage Center is a catalyst, is a starting point for young Native people to discover themselves, to be proud of their heritage, and to explore their culture through dance and art. So this is going to be a really perfect partnership for us. We'll begin with probably carving, jewelry making up in Alaska. We're so proud that this is on track. And we're looking at about 2006 to start offering classes up there.
Well, that's exciting expansion, and we have one more slide here.
Oh, this one is so special. This is done by a Nez Perce artist, and her name is Madison. I picked this up at an event called the Show and Sale, and this is called Rose, and this is from a very old photograph that has been colorized, and then the background. It, to me, represents the mixing of the contemporary with the old. And this best says what our Native students get in an experience. They are encouraged to hold on to the old ways, but also to explore the new ways and find their own balance. And I think that this piece is just a real tribute to balance.
Well, thank you so very much. And with that, we'll go back to Janelle Burke.
Goodness, I don't know where to start here,
Okay.
but I do have some questions, a series of quick questions. First of all, how long is your term on the board?
6 years, and then I've been reappointed.
So you could serve longer than that.
Yeah, quite
And
a
be
while.
very busy. Well, I know you're contributing a great deal. How many students are at the Institute?
We shoot for having 200. That generally is about a nice size for an art school. And as of last week, I know that we are at 167. And students often come in the January semester too. So it's a nice, intimate size of school.
Now, you mentioned that you have some students who are mature, but do most students live on campus? Are there living accommodations and dormitories?
We have 100 students can live on campus, and we have housing, and they are actually apartments. They're very nice. So, but the real estate market in Santa Fe is very expensive. So to rent a home, you need to team up with other students, and But we're also having many students locally from the Pueblos come in, and so they would just drive to school and commute.
And now I'm a musician, as you know, so
Yes.
I want to ask you about the elements of music in the art program.
We've had a long tradition of having music. We don't offer a degree in it, but it certainly is a complementary aspect of campus life. We have a distinguished professor who has been in and out of our campus offering traditional Native music and setting that music to almost symphonies and getting the students involved in productions. And his name is Louis Ballard. He's a very famous musicologist. So he's taken tribal melodies, broken them down into lessons, and then people learn all the various beautiful songs. So you might learn a war chant one day, and then a serenade and a lullaby. So, of course, but it's the blending of all of these tribes that is the essence of the experience. So,
Is most of it vocal, or is there some instrumental as well?
actually, we don't have many music classes, but we do have a history of being involved in music. So a flat-out music program we don't have.
All right.
We'll switch to the arts. Jeannie, tell us about, I think one of your programs is called Studio Arts. So what kind of art does that encompass?
Studio art would be the painting and the making of things. Some of our students will make something in paper mache that is just so astounding, or sculpture. So having time in the studio is sort of more of a concept of, it's not the classroom. You go to the studio, you make, you create. You have your time in the studio where you get to just not be alone, because there are other artists working in the studio as well, but it's a large room with a high ceiling with very good light where they have pretty much uninterrupted time. So it's not like being at home trying to paint. You have a very serious amount of work that you need to do as an artist. As you evolve as a better artist, you need to be spending a lot of time doing your craft. Many artists paint, professional artists paint every day, and they spend 3 to 4 to 6 hours painting and sculpting. So if that is what they desire to do, they need to get used to the rigor of doing it a lot. So that's what a studio experience is.
Tell me about what it would be like if I was to walk onto the campus. What is the ambiance like? What's the energy level like? What's the environment like?
When you walk onto this beautiful campus, it is set right in the heart of Pueblo country. So the Rio Grande flows nearby, and there are many pueblos up and down the river. And Tesuque Pueblo is nearby, and Jemez Pueblo. So when we built the campus, it had a special Pueblo blessing, and the blessing of corn pollen on, as though to suggest that good things will grow out of this earth. So the architecture it's different. It's stunning. The students that you would see would be pretty friendly, a smile on their face usually, and the faculty, you would be a new face, so they would immediately ask you, "Who are you? What do you need? Can I help you?" And before long, you'd be involved in a good conversation, likely with a student.
Excellent.
Like North Idaho College, this is a great place. You put young people together, and they're learning, and good things happen.
Great.
As I indicated in my other round of questioning, that Jeannie Givens has served on these educational boards and did some real dramatic things while at North Idaho College on the board. Also, I didn't tell our audience about you are well educated yourself with a baccalaureate degree and a master's degree, and as you work in these different settings, like at North Idaho College, all the contributions you made, and now with the Institute in New Mexico, and now you yourself with your education and with managing 2 children and a husband and working together, you're also doing some activities in education here in Idaho too, aren't you?
Yes, Tony. I'm having the pleasure of working for the Coeur d'Alene Tribal School, and that's located in DeSmet. It's on the southern end of the reservation. It's a small school, very much like the Institute in Santa Fe. It's a small school, and it's coming out of some adversity. They had lost their accreditation, and now we're at a place where we're beginning to not just survive, but starting to dream and to plan. So I'm doing some writing for them. And also, I'll go into the classroom too as teachers need some help. I'll go in and help. I taught kindergarten on Wednesday. That was an experience. Mm-hmm. And it's always fun to be in the classroom. I'm a certified teacher, but I also want to offer a little technical assistance to people. So writing is something that I'm very comfortable doing. And I plan on being with them throughout the year, and we're applying for some grants, and they're at the place where they're wanting to implement real high-quality standards. And so we will be looking at an effective schools program that will involve parents, the community, and having students taking more responsibility for their education. And of course, Idaho is in the ISAT. We want scores to raise. We want reading, math, and language arts scores to be higher. But it takes work and it takes planning. So I will have a piece in helping this tribal school move to what we call an effective school.
And I want to add that you are a member of the Coeur d'Alene tribe,
yes.
And there's so many things I wanted to say about you on the program. And just another little footnote about a member of your tribe that's a student here at North Idaho College, and he's just a marvelous person. There's a lot of good students here, but he's vice president of the North Idaho College Human Equality Club, and he's one of our leaders on campus. So that's always exciting for all this sharing. And I have one final question, and that is, at the Institute in New Mexico, since the students and others and the board come from all over the country, there must be a growing integration of ideas that are sharing from different cultures and backgrounds from tribes across America, much more so probably than any other thing that's happening within the Native American community.
Mm-hmm. What happens when you bring a lot of people with the benefit of diversity, and we see all these various tribes as diversity, is you start realizing what is important, and from those conversations you establish what is of value. And because of these wonderful conversations, we've committed ourselves that we want to be the receptacle, the holder of tribal languages. And so we are building a lifelong learning center where people may come and we will work with them in terms of cultural preservation. The modern day world is also happening in every Indian community in this country. You know, they have MTV, satellite dishes, and all these things, and tribal elders are wondering, what can we do to preserve our cultures? So the Institute of American Indian Arts wants to be the receptacle, the holder of tribal languages and tribal customs, and we will work to help communities hold on to those traditions.
That's the bridge with time getting short. Recently,
yes.
You went to Washington, D.C. with the
Yes.
great opening of the museum.
The National Museum of the American Indian opened September 21st. 17,000 Native Americans and indigenous people from Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, New Zealand, Australia came and walked to have the first ever National Museum of the American Indian in the Smithsonian. We're so proud of it, and the pride, it was just soaring in everyone's hearts, and it was a very, very special day.
And I was privileged to see some of it on TV, and where it's housed is a very beautiful location, a beautiful building. And
It's directly to the southeast of the Capitol building on the mall, and it holds a prominent place, and many of us believe that it is time. It is time that Indians have their own museum. So we were very happy for that day, and we welcome people to go to Washington to see our museum. It's a high-class, world-class museum.
And you had a lot of dignitaries there that day, and from all the different tribes and others that helped you open and celebrate that special day.
It was a great day. It was super.
On that note, we have to bring today's program to a conclusion, but the good news is that our guest, Jeannie Givens, will be with us again next week when we're going to move to another area of Native American culture. It has to do with a very special center and location in the city of Los Angeles, California, where, again, Jeannie Givens is involved as a committee member. I don't know how she finds time for all of this. I thought I was busy until I looked at her schedule. But again, Jeannie, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to that show. And again, at that time, we have some other slides to show our people, if they're visiting Los Angeles, what they could see that's there. And you've honored us with your presence, and you're gracious for the time you've given us, and we'll look forward to that again next week. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
Recorded on the campus of North Idaho College, Public Forum is the longest-running in-house college production on PBS. Each episode is pre-recorded live and is an educational outreach from North Idaho College. Please join us at this same time next week for another edition of Public Forum on this public television station.